Welcome to the Private Practice with Soul podcast. My name is Dr. Storme, and I help private practice owners align their business back with their soul's calling, with their big vision and with their soul's purpose. Unlike other private practice coaches, I've traveled the world in search of spiritual resources, spiritual tools, education and information so that you can have the transformation that your soul desires and needs so that you can up-level your business. How much fun is this? I love it so much. Guys, if you're not already a member of the Private Practice Monthly Mentorship Group, please check out the show notes. I would love for you to be there. In the meantime, thank you so much for pushing play today. Let's begin. Hi guys, and welcome to another episode of the Private Practice with Soul podcast. My name's Dr. Storme, and I'm super happy that you're here. Welcome to all the new subscribers. I hope you love it. Go through and listen to the previous episodes. I'm sure you'll find some gold in there. But today what I want to do just quickly is speak with you about something that I've noticed as a trend in the helping professions, and it's really starting to bother me. And it's this idea that counsellors should be charging less than everyone else. Have you heard that too? I mean, who started this narrative? Where did it come from? Actually, counsellors should charge the same as psychologists and social workers, but I understand why you might think that they shouldn't, given some of the narratives that are floating around our industry, including that somehow, clients who go and see a psychologist or a social worker are going to get a better outcome than someone who went and saw a counsellor. But you know what? If it were true that all those clients were getting better outcomes, that would be reflected in the data, and it's not. What we see in the data is that above and beyond the background of the treating practitioner and above and beyond the type of intervention that's being used, whether it's CBT, positive psychology, acceptance and commitment therapy, is the therapeutic relationships. In fact, meta-analysis of different practitioner types, i.e. social workers, counsellors, pastors, chaplains, all get better outcomes based on the therapeutic relationship, not on our professional backgrounds. Counselling is not less valuable than psychology or social work. It's a different discipline. As someone who used to be a psychologist, as someone who herself did a master's of psychology in counselling, the training I have in the actual counselling part of psychology, in all honesty, was minimal. The master's went for 2 years at Monash University. The first year was about theory. It was about psych assessment. It was more on statistics, more on research analysis and design, all that sort of stuff. It was only in the second year that we started doing our placements. And I did a placement at a gambling organisation called Break Even. I did a placement at a community health service. And then I did another placement at a private practice, okay? So I was exposed to a few different types of areas, but honestly, there are so many counselling degrees now, and this is the thing. A counselling degree is a specialisation, in my opinion, because it's what you have studied more of than anything else. As I said, my degree, and I have a PhD, was very, I learned bits of everything. But you can't compare psychology with social work, with counselling. They're all different, okay? And when it comes to the counselling, this is what people miss. They miss that trained counsellors are specialists in counselling. And by us continuing to perpetuate a narrative that counselling is somehow less valuable, all we are doing as women is we are pulling each other down. We are disempowering other women from being able to achieve a common goal. It doesn't matter if you studied medicine, social work, counselling, psychology, coaching, whatever it is. We all had the same goal of wanting to help. Now, where is it okay to say that somebody else's role is more valuable than somebody else's? It's not, and this narrative needs to stop. And in the interest of raising the vibration of the helping and healing industry, I feel it's my obligation, while I have access to you guys on this podcast, that I share with you just how important it is that as women in helping professions, we lift each other up and we honor the differences that we all bring. I don't believe that it's okay to say, oh, I have to charge less for my counsellor because clients that come and see her won't be able to claim a Medicare rebate. I don't understand that thinking. Like, that is you making a decision for your clients about what they can and can't afford. And that's none of your business, quite frankly, what they can and can't afford. Isn't that for your clients to decide? If I found out that somebody was making a decision about what they assumed I couldn't afford, and therefore what services they were and were not going to offer me, I'd be so upset. I think that's highly offensive. I just wouldn't do it. So I think that you're also disempowering your clients when you take that option off the table. And I think when you leave the option on the table, but you only charge your counsellor out at half the rate that you're charging out your social worker or psychologist, that again, you're a party to perpetuating this myth that counselling is somehow less valuable. It's not, it's just different. Okay, and there are plenty of funding bodies that do recognise counselling. There are private health funds that will rebate counselling. There are funding bodies like the National Disability NDIS that will recognise counselling. Just because Medicare won't doesn't mean it's not valid. It absolutely is. And given that we are in a global pandemic at the moment, and we've seen huge spikes in things like people needing support, doesn't it make more sense to say, if you're a psychologist or if you're a social worker and you have an area of specialization in a certain thing, doesn't it make more sense to achieve the common goal that we have in the helping professions of helping more people in the community that really need us by saying, listen, my plate's full, my waiting list is full, but I can recommend a really good counsellor that can support you and help you out. Why not help your clients by referring to a counsellor? Reduce your wait list by referring to a counsellor. Do what you intended to do and help those clients by connecting them with a counsellor, and free yourself up to do the work that counsellors don't do, like those assessments, like the diagnosis, like, putting together your treatment plan and writing a psychometric report. They don't do that. They're not purporting to do that. I'm not saying that they're going to do that. But if that's something that you can do that they can't, why don't you focus on that and let them do the counselling? All right. I think it's our responsibility as women in health right now, especially right now, to start honouring the different skills that we all bring to the industry that we're all working in, that we trained for, that we love, that allows us to support families, individuals, couples, and other men and women in the community that are needing guidance. But it doesn't just stop at private practice owners and their recruiting practices and how much they're going to charge people out for. It doesn't stop there. No. It also falls on counsellors to stop perpetuating this maladaptive narrative that you are somehow, or your service is somehow less valuable than what psychologists and social workers are doing by accepting a lower rate, by accepting to be charged out at half of what everybody else is being charged out, to accept that you're not going to get a look in at a job because you're not a psychologist or a social worker. The longer you are compliant with all of that stuff that's happening, you are complicit in perpetuating this narrative that's not only working against you, but it's working against the very people that you have spent years and thousands of dollars in training to help. It makes no sense. Now, maybe you've been a counsellor for many years like I have. I would call 25 years many years. You might have seen changes over that time. I certainly have. When I first started counselling, it was respected. Somewhere along the line, there started to be almost, it feels as if it's some kind of hierarchy. It's some kind of, oh, you've got to be a psychologist, and then it's a social worker, and then it's I don't know how this all started, but it's a problem because it not only affects you, but it's affecting your community. So I feel that there's absolutely a role to play, not only for business owners who need to start adjusting their mindset around what counsellors can offer and the value that they bring. But there's also responsibility on counsellors to step into that space. Now, more than ever, is the time for you to stand up and be counted, to stand up and be seen, to show practice owners why they'd be so much better off for having you on board. You need to speak to the skills that you bring. You need to speak to how you help. You need to speak to that transformation. You have to be confident and comfortable enough in your own skin to do that so that you can start, because I'm sure that once you start working in that space, people are going to see the value that you bring. And how good is that going to be? And guess what else? Your clients are also going to see the value that you bring. All right. So this is just a short podcast episode today, but kind of a little bit of a hot potato, if you like. But it's just, perhaps part of this is driven by everything that's happening with COVID at the moment, and by seeing online all these people that need help but can't get in to see a psychologist or a social worker, and some psychologists and social workers just adding people to wait lists. They're not aware of how counsellors can help. And counsellors, you're not being vocal enough in how you help. Don't sit back and let this maladaptive narrative continue. It's not that the value of your work is less. It's that it's different. You have specialist skills in counselling. Embody that. Start thinking, when I go to post on social media, how can I speak to the skills that I've got? When I do my blog post, or when I send out my email, or when I send out my newsletter, how can I speak to the skills that I've got? Okay, because guess what? If you don't see your value and if you don't embody your value, how on earth are you going to expect businesses, private practice owners, and clients to see your value? They won't. Okay, and I know that there's an argument that at the moment, counselling's unregulated and, anybody can call themselves a counsellor, so we're not going to respect you. I think that's baloney. If you've done the training, if you're a member of your professional body in Australia, it's ACA or it's PACFA, lead with that. If that's the objection that psychologists and social workers have from working with you, lead with that. And I'm very aware that one of the counselling bodies, I think it's ACA, are in the process of setting up a registration body. Start getting involved with that and start speaking more about that. Let the other professionals see the value that you bring. Stop allowing this comparison to continue because it's not working, all right? There's clients out there who are missing out on getting the help that they need because you're being quiet. Not all of you, but you know what I'm saying, all right? Start embodying your value. If you have trouble with this, if you don't feel, I'm just going to take a big leap here, but I'm sure maybe there are some of you that will resonate with this, but if you're feeling like you're not as good as, if you're feeling like your service isn't worth X amount of money, if you're feeling like you're not good enough, or whatever it is that you're telling yourself, whatever that story is that you're telling yourself, and it's blocking you from either starting your private practice, or it's blocking you from being seen, or it's blocking you from working with clients, or it's blocking you from standing up to private practice owners who are trying to get you to be billed out for half of what you would normally be billed out, let me know, because I can absolutely help you. I have a group called the Private Practice Mentorship Group, and it's just for the next few days, until the 20th of September, you can come and join that group for just $1 for your first month. Come and get the support that you need. You get on-demand coaching. There's 11 learning units in there, and this is all about how we help you find your purpose, how we find your voice, how we help you be seen in a way that feels comfortable for you. We talk about energy, we talk about alignment, we talk about doing the inner work first so that you can get those outcomes that you want. Now, I know what I've said here today is going to ruffle a few feathers, but I also know that it's going to land for people who perhaps, feel like they don't have a voice at the moment. I am more than happy to ruffle feathers on your behalf. But guys, you've got to help me out here. And what I need from you is your support to do this. And the way that you can support me is let me know what the challenges you have. What are the challenges that you experience as counselors trying to catch a break in your industry? Okay, if there's any that I've missed, let me know, because I want to advocate. I want to help you advocate for yourselves, and I want to teach you how to do that. As I said, now is the time. All right. So thank you very, 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 very much for listening to this. I'll be very interested to hear your thoughts. If you know of a counsellor, if you know of a counselling group, if you know of a counselling society or membership that needs to hear this podcast, share it. I've put similar content on my business page. It's just Dr. Brooklyn Storme, PhD. Jump on there and you can copy and paste it. You can share it, do whatever you want. My goal is to raise the vibration in the helping industries so that you can be seen and work with the clients that really, 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 really need you now more than ever. Are you in? I hope so. Thanks, guys. Have a beautiful Wednesday. I'll talk to you on Saturday. Bye. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Private Practice with Soul podcast today. If you're looking for clarity, if you need help with branding, your processes, and bringing everything into alignment with your soul's purpose for your private practice, head to the show notes and click the link for more information about the Private Practice Monthly Mentorship Group. You are going to love it. I can't wait to see you in there. Thanks so much for listening. Bye.